massive conspiracy against liberty. I don't think they're going to do that. They've usually been too smart. Same thing with an economic class.
Well, it's slow creeping, to interrupt. It's slow.
Right.
We're already in martial law when they got naked body scanners in the airport, and they're federalizing police, and they're turning the public schools into little prison drill camps.
Well, let's put it this way. They have the authority, and the Constitution is dead as far as these people. They can do anything they want. The judges will look the other way if they're told to look the other way. So we've actually lost our freedom. They just haven't implemented that total loss so that they don't get a rebellion against the people. But I think we have to be very careful, as I say, about saying that something is imminent when I don't think strategically it's in the globalist best interest to do that. I think knowing that war is coming, they have several major things that are going to be accomplished when the big war comes. Number one, they get to implement martial law and have an excuse that everybody will cheer about because there's total chaos going on. An EMP, a strike, will take down this nation without electricity to a third world nation within hours. Secondly, they get a chance to wipe out all of the debt. They've got a collision course with bankruptcy. Technically, they're already bankrupt, but legally it doesn't happen until 2021 or 22.
Yeah, they see a war as a way to reboot things.
That's right, because basically if the computer centers in Washington, D.C. and New York get wiped out, they can basically say there are no more records. We got to start all over. And they get a free slate to do that. I think that's the great thing about seeing them milk this thing along with inflation, which that's their only weapon they've got left. So I'm not predicting an economic collapse. I'm a downward spiral that will keep going, but they'll milk it along, keep people basically fat, dumb, and happy until the surprise war comes. And it will be a shock to everybody. And they'll use that shock value to talk people into giving up essential sovereignty in favor of a new world order.
And then meanwhile, like termites in a building, they're busy, preparing the full collapse, getting all their ducks in a row, studying us, learning how to control us. How do we counter that, though? Take the states back, take the counties, the sheriffs back, educate people about this program.
It's the local level is the only way that we're going to do that, and that's why I think we've got to be very careful about teaching people how to do this correctly. So much of the Tea Party movement is being co-opted by false leaders coming in with money, and that's always the key, that they're not of us, because our people don't have money. The people with big bucks never are principled enough to run with a no-compromise strategy. So I think we have to be smart enough to work at the local level, and it's working to a certain extent. But I look every day in the news and see how they're trying to topple Sharon Angle against Reed, just using very, very subtle attacks to destabilize.
Well, they're claiming Rand Paul kidnapped a lady, and it wasn't true.
I know, yeah. But ultimately, there's a secret government that's going on. It has secret underground bases. I knew that. In fact, I really started to research that when all these outlandish claims came about concentration camps on the Internet about 10 years ago. Remember that, the list of 300 names? And I started actually go and research those. And most of them were bogus, absolutely bogus. And I thought, and that list still, is still in there today.
Well, I've read the urban warfare drills. The camps are your sports stadiums. They can set up in a matter of hours. The camps are the fact that we have the biggest prison population in the world, and adjunct to major prison camps, they have areas designated in the National Emergency Centers Act, and that National Emergency Centers Act tells you what they've already built. They're just saying they want the funding to go public. It's the old military bases.
That's right. And most of these real, true concentration camps are on the decommissioned military bases. For example, they had right there in plain sight at Northwest Nellis Air Force Base is a great big triple-wall prison camp, and it was on the actual list of prisons from the Bureau of Prisons up until 2 years ago when they took it off the list. Now, the camp is still there. I've just visited it, and they still have people operating that. But it's now gone underground. It's disappeared.
Well, let me identify one for you, and I have this from insiders. Then it came out it was true. Camp Swift was 33,000 acres. It's now 11,000. They have a federal prison. It's the Federal Correctional Facility at Swift in Bastrop. It's an old German prisoner of war camp built onto a real prison, where they're holding federal prisoners, and it's part of the civilian inmate labor camp program, and it's all hidden in plain view, and the guards don't even know it. They just think, oh, we're a federal prison, but it's a larger complex part of this operation.
That's the same thing with the Nellis. You can go up and talk to the guards. They know that it's there. No, we never use that. But it's there. And, it's amazing that Glenn Beck gets on his program to debunk prison camps, and brings out these disinformation artists, popular mechanics, to do his so-called his independent researchers, and they don't mention these prison camps, which are in plain sight.
Amazing interview. Let's briefly talk about the main reason I got you on, how they're trying to federalize police, and if they're being successful at that, what you call the dark side. And then I'll briefly get your take on who was behind 9/11 and this larger geopolitical strategy. We'll be right back.
Attention, this is a special alert to all Americans who owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS. The IRS is now accepting reduced settlements from people who owe back taxes and dramatically lowering amounts owed. Due to the financial crisis in America, the IRS has announced a leniency plan in recognition of consumers' financial troubles in today's economy. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS, an open phone line has been established by American Tax Settlement for you to call and see if you qualify for a reduction by up to 75%. Number to call is 800-902-6969. Again, the IRS is now accepting reduced settlements from consumers who owe back taxes in response to the decline in today's economy. If you are struggling with $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS, you now may be eligible for a dramatic reduction by up to 75% and save thousands of dollars. For free information and to see if you qualify, call the open phone line into American Tax Settlement now. 800-902-6969. 800-902-6969. Again, 800-902-6969.
They helped to create a new world order.
We are part of a new world order.
A new world order based upon collective action.
Invisible Empire is a damning indictment of the globalists through their own words and documents.
The New World Order really is a tool for addressing a new world of possibilities.
It means all the world under their control.
The United Nations would take over America. The Trilateral Commission would control the world.
Invisible Empire chronicles how men of power and influence have worked in stealth for centuries to establish an oppressive world government.
I believe, first of all, that we now need nothing short of a world constitution for the global financial system.
Global governance with the establishment of the G20.
So it's going to be an inner ruling elite and then everyone else. And I got news for you. You're everyone else.
Invisible Empire. Secure your copy today at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com, or watch it online in the highest quality at PrisonPlanet.tv.
You've seen our SinoFresh banner on the GCN website.
Yet your sinusitis is still a problem.
Are you waiting for your sinusitis to go away by itself?
Are you waiting for a SinoFresh discount?
Okay, here it comes.
But first, the facts.
67 other products merely treat symptoms
and not the cause of sinus problems.
And 37 million Americans suffer from sinus distress just like you. But now many are finding relief with the only patent-protected homeopathic nasal product that antiseptically eliminates the known causes of sinusitis. SinoFresh.
Now, here's your limited time discount offer to use SinoFresh.
Call 888-906-3636 right now for $2 off per bottle when you mention GCN. That's it. Just call 888-906-3636 and mention GCN for a $2 discount.
But hurry, this offer is only for the first 1,000 customers.
Call 888-906-3636. 888-906-3636. Call right now for $2 off per bottle.
Mention GCN.
Buy SinoFresh.com. It works.
Wish a buck was still silver.
Well, it's our final segment with Joel Skousen, but he'll be back with us for a full 2 hours to take your phone calls on August 31st, coming up in about a week and a half, or a little more than a week and a half, last day of this month. Don't forget the 2 search terms we're doing today. Kill Web, which will lead them to an article, Google plans to kill web internet takeover agenda. Kill Web, 2 words, that's the one search. And the second search is Bombshell Barack, exposing how he's a CIA-created asset. Bombshell Barack is one search, and Kill Web is the second. Real fast, Joel Skousen, because your breakdown that I saw in Chuck Baldwin's article about the dark side of the military and police they're creating and using, and they admit this, Iraq, Afghanistan with the checkpoints, the searches, and now it's confirmed, to train them for domestic operations. Let's talk briefly about that, and then your view on how 9/11 fed into all this and who you think's behind it.
Well, this is a real interesting story. As you know, from my World Affairs Brief, or what Chuck Baldwin keyed off of, I wrote a story about the top secret America. Essentially, that whenever the New York Times comes up with a major story pretending to unmask the government they serve, readers should be very skeptical. The Bush administration, for example, permitted leakers from within the government to tattle on some unlawful domestic spying, a little bitty piece of it. But this was a planted story in order to partially address the problem and make the public feel satisfied now that the government had been exposed and chastened. Neither occurred. Later, of course, legislation was passed to allow modest domestic spying to continue under the all-justifying war on terror, and that related to 9/11, why 9/11 had to be a government operation to justify this all-continuing war on terror. Thus, the real purpose of the story on leaking domestic spying, or small portions of it, was to divert the public from knowing that government spying on Americans is total, universal in scope, collecting all domestic and international communications. In the same vein, when the Washington Post began the first of these installments on Top Secret America, it was purported to expose the massive growth and inefficiency of the burgeoning intelligence community. It was a cover story to make the public feel now that government waste and inefficiency had been exposed, that was the only problem, and totally, I repeat, totally neglected the whole story, which was the substantive issues of illegal and uncontrolled surveillance, disinformation, drug running, all the things that goes on in the black section of government. Now, to address your question directly, the government during the Timothy McVeigh era and beyond used to recruit directly. That is, the CIA would go to military people and they would recruit people mostly out of special services into the CIA directly, as they did Timothy McVeigh. Now they've switched streams and they use private military contractors. These are set up by people who have insider connection to government. You and I cannot go to the ATF and say, I want a license to have automatic weapons to start a private military contractor firm. We can't do it. They'll just laugh at your face. And I've told in the World Affairs Brief how Triple Canopy got started, how it came and got...
Sure, we got 1 minute. We'll talk about it in a week and a half, but 1 minute. Bottom line, 9/11 private contractors?
No, absolutely a government inside operation.
Okay.
Now, the private contractors were, in fact, the terrorists at the al-Qaeda level who were hired by them. I don't think the people running the airplanes knew they were working directly for the U.S., but the people at the higher level of al-Qaeda were working for the CIA through Saudi Arabia.
Other details?
Well, obviously the explosions and the proofs about explosive elements within the World Trade Center is the biggest proof that this was an inside government operation. There's no way that those buildings could have come down as stated by the government without high-powered explosives. That means there's over 100 people out there who put those explosives in the buildings or are keeping a secret. They've been threatened, of course, but that's how this works. All
right, Joel Skousen, amazing. Look forward to you being on with us August 31st. Have a great Friday and weekend coming up. God bless you. Look forward to having you back on soon.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. God bless you. Thank you. Kill Web's the search term, along with Bombshell, Barack. Great job, crew. Retransmission starts now. Infowars.com.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
The question is, where should the American people draw their line in the sand?
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic is based on a constitution which protects minority rights.
Not democracy, not mob rule, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, children, our education, our money.
So we have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising.
You are being warned.